Kenya shillings 747 million for small-scale irrigation value chain, irrigation and value addition project. Kenya shillings 642.5 million for the food security and crop diversification project. Mr. Speaker, to improve livestock production, I propose Kenya shillings 2.4 billion for de-risking, inclusive and value enhancement of pastoral economies program. Kenya shillings 1.5 billion for livestock value chain support project. Kenya shillings 1.5 billion for Kenya livestock commercialization program. Kenya shillings 192.5 million for the embryo transfer project. I have also proposed Kenya shillings 300 million for the development leather industrial park, Kenani. Mr. Speaker, to support the growth of the brew economy, I propose a total of Kenya shillings 11.3 billion to the brew economy and fisheries subsector. This includes 3.7 billion to aquaculture business development project, Kenya shillings 3.1 billion to the Kenya marine fisheries and socio-economic development project, Kenya shillings 540 million for rehabilitation of fish riding sites, Kenya shillings 695.5 million for Riwatoni ultra-modern fish hub, and Kenya shillings 600 million for marine fish assessment. Mr. Speaker, to raise agricultural productivity, enhance resilience to climate change risks in targeted smallholder farming and even pastoral communities, I propose an allocation of 340 million shillings towards adding drought and emergencies project. Mr. Speaker, to ensure legitimacy of land ownership and settle the land race, I propose a sum of 5.5 billion. This allocation will cater for the processing and registration of the title deeds, settlement of the land race, digitization of the land registry, georeferencing of land parcels, and construction of land registries. Second, I want to turn to transforming micro, small, and medium enterprises economy. Mr. Speaker, accessibility and affordable credit to most Kenyans at the bottom of the pyramid remains a challenge. To address this challenge, the government is proposing an additional allocation of 5 billion shillings to the Financial Inclusion or Hustlers Fund to scale up access to credit for households and MSMEs. I also propose an additional 200 million for the Youth Enterprise Development Fund, Kenya shillings 162.5 million for the Center for Entrepreneurship Project, and Kenya shillings 1.9 billion for rural Kenya Financial Inclusion Facility. Third, let me turn to housing and settlement, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the government's commitment to turn the housing challenge into an economic opportunity to create quality jobs for the youth directly in the construction sector and indirectly through the production of building products. This will be achieved through, among other measures, facilitating a delivery of 200,000 houses per annum and enabling low-cost housing mortgages. To continue supporting this initiative, I have proposed an allocation of 92.1 billion shillings for the housing, urban development, and public works. This includes Kenya shillings 8.3 billion under the Kenya Urban Program, Kenya shillings 3 billion to Kenya Mortgage Refinance Company for enhancement of the company's capital as well as for lending to the primary mortgage lenders, Kenya shillings 32.5 billion for construction of affordable housing units, Kenya shillings 15 billion for the construction of social housing unit, Kenya shillings 14.7 billion for social and physical infrastructure. Mr. Speaker, other proposed allocation to the housing, urban development, and public works include 11.3 billion for the Kenya Informal Settlement Improvement Project Phase 3, Kenya shillings 1 billion for the construction of markets, Kenya shillings 1 billion for the National Slum Upgrading Program, Kenya shillings 1 billion for the construction of housing units for the National Police and Kenya prisons, Kenya shillings 496.3 million for the construction of food bridges, Kenya shillings 444 million targeted to support construction of county headquarters that are targeted. Fourth, universal health care coverage. Mr. Speaker, the government is committed and determined to realize the constitutional right to health by promoting access to quality and affordable health care through universal health care coverage program. Towards this end, Mr. Speaker, I have proposed an allocation of 127 billion to the health sector to support various activities and programs. These include 4.2 billion for Kenya shillings, 4.2 billion for universal health care coverage, coordination and management unit, Kenya shillings 2 billion for free maternity health care, Kenya shillings 3.6 billion for managed equipment services, Kenya shillings 861.5 million to provide medical cover for the orphans, elderly, and severely disabled persons in our society, Kenya shillings 4.6 billion to cater for the stipend and acquisition of specialized medical equipment for the community health promoters, and 4.1 billion shillings for primary health care fund. Mr. Speaker, throughout the cases of HIV, AIDS, malaria, and tuberculosis, and enhance the vaccines and immunization program in the country, I have proposed Kenya shillings 28.7 billion for the Global Fund, and Kenya shillings 4.6 billion for vaccines and immunization programs, respectively. Mr. Speaker, to enhance the early diagnosis and management of cancer and reduce the burden of treatment among Kenyans, I have proposed an allocation of Kenya shillings 1.1 billion to strengthen cancer management in Kenyatta National Hospital and Kisii Level 5 hospitals. I have also proposed Kenya shillings 2 billion to the Emergencies, Chronic and Critical Illness Fund. Mr. Speaker, to improve health service delivery, I have proposed a sum of Kenya shillings 29.7 billion for Kenyatta National Hospital and Moi Teaching and Referral Hospitals. This includes 2.6 billion for the construction of Kenyatta National Hospital Burns and Pediatric Center. I've also proposed Kenya shillings 5.2 billion for the Kenya Medical Supplies Agency, Kenya shillings 2.5 billion for the Kenya Medical Research Institute, Kenya shillings 1 billion for procurement of family planning and reproductive health commodities, and Kenya shillings 760 million for procurement of equipment at the National Blood Transfusion Services. Further, to strengthen the capacity of medical personnel, I have proposed Kenya shillings 3.7 billion for medical interns, Kenya shillings 406 million for training of health personnel, and Kenya shillings 8.6 billion for Kenya Medical Training Center. Finally, the digital superhighway and creative economy. Mr. Speaker, investment in digital superhighway and creative economy continues to play a critical role in enabling the government achieve the objectives of bottom-up economic transformation agenda through increased productivity and competitiveness. On the creative economy promotion of music, theater, and graphic design, digital animation, fashion, and craft, among others, continues to create jobs opportunities for the youth. Mr. Speaker, to support the growing digital superhighway and creative economy, I have proposed an allocation of Kenya shillings 16.3 billion to fund the initiatives in the information, communication, and technology sector. Specifically, this proposed allocation includes 1.1 billion for government shared services, 704 million for digital superhighway, 2.3 billion for the construction of Kenya Advanced Institute of Science and Technology at Concert Technopolis, 2.8 billion for Kenya Digital Economy Acceleration Project, and 2.8 billion for maintenance and rehabilitation of the last mile county connectivity network. In order to fast-track the developments of the Concert Technopolis City, I have proposed an allocation of 1.5 billion for the horizontal infrastructure phase 1 and Kenya shillings 5.2 billion for the Concert data center and smart city facilities. Other key allocations to critical sectors supporting better include investment in critical infrastructure. Mr. Speaker, the government continues to expand and maintain critical infrastructure in roads, railways, sea, and airports to achieve socio-economic transformation that will also enhance Kenya's competitiveness and facilitate cross-border trade and regional integration. Towards this end, I have proposed an allocation of Kenya shillings 193.4 billion for development of roads,